Hello. Just waiting for people to turn up here. It's funny, I'm backwards, so I can't figure out what to fix. It's all backwards. Okay. Just waiting for everyone to turn up. This is one of my unscheduled lives because I don't have scheduled ones anymore. So welcome to the live. Okay. Sorry, I'm just getting some messages here. Okay, so welcome to the live. Just sitting here waiting for everyone to turn up. Pouring rain out there today. I wear safety lights, like armbands, lit up. I'm going to show them to you. They're really good things for your kids too. Just a minute. I'm coming. I just went to get these things. These are those things I put them around my ankles and they light up and they flash or whatever, but they're really good for kids too. I was hit by a car crossing the street about 6 weeks ago. And luckily I managed to stay on the hood. I was thrown around, but as soon as I made contact with the car, I thought, stay on the hood. So I did. Anyway, scared the bejeebies out of me. So I got these for myself and my daughter. They light up because we walk everywhere. We live downtown, so we walk everywhere. And on a rainy night, it's impossible to see you. So anyway, really good idea for your kids, your dogs, whatever, something lit up that you could wear. Okay, that was all I was going to say about that. Okay, now let's get going with the live, I guess. There's enough people here. What was I going to say? Oh, probably all busy preparing for Christmas, right? I already did the big gifts. Now I'm just getting a few little throw-ins. So yeah, I always wait to the last minute. I don't know why. I didn't used to. I do now. When the kids were little, I didn't. I was very organized. But now that they're grown up, and I don't know why I'm so lazy. Anyway, so let's get going with your questions as soon as I just introduced myself. If you're new, welcome. If not, welcome back. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother. And if you go to BratBusters.com, you can see everything I have to offer there. The free behavior board, it actually is a mini course, has a toddler section in there too. So you can get the free behavior board or my courses, or you can look into coaching. Whoops, sorry. I'm just changing providers for my internet and my phone all in one go. How much fun do you think that is? Okay. So I'm a little bit stressed out. That's why I thought I'll come on here. I always relax when I do a live. I find this very relaxing. So, okay. How much time a day is reasonable time for electronic time a day for an 11-year-old boy? I can't possibly answer that. That's up to you to decide. There is no set time. Some kids might be 10 minutes a day. Some kids might be 2 hours a day. I don't know. That's up to you to decide. That's a personal call. Like what I mean is there is no set amount. Nobody really can answer that. So yeah, you make that call. What I do always recommend is that you get like a certain number of hours per week and let them manage it. So it might be 11 hours per week and let him manage when he goes on there. You just have to keep track of it. So yeah. Okay. Philadelphia, I'm assuming. Utah. Hello. I got a bunch of clients in Utah. This was funny. I have so many Jewish clients and I couldn't figure out why. And I've talked to a few of them now. I've asked them. I said, where did you hear about me? And usually I ask, but I forget. I mean, usually it's on the form, but I forget to look at it. Anyway, I asked them two reasons. One of them, they say that because we talk, they have a real community. And also the rabbis are evidently recommending me. This is what I've had several of them tell me now. So how interesting, eh? Like this huge amount of my clients are Jewish. I've learned so much about the Jewish religion. It's fascinating. I love learning new stuff. Okay, so I'm just waiting for your questions. In the meantime, I might yabber on about a couple things. We're doing our podcast now twice a week. It's going really well. And I'm not doing the regularly scheduled lives anymore because of that. We're putting our energy, it's just my daughter and I, we're putting our energy where people are going. And a lot more people are heading to the podcast than these lives. So that, and they're both free. So we're putting our energy where people are going. And I'm still doing lives. I'm just not scheduling them anymore because I'm really busy. So, okay, here we go. Dana Collins, 2.5. Oh, sugar. I lost it. Just a sec. Okay, 2.5-year-old feeling like corrective actions aren't working well anymore. Is it ever okay to start the behavior board early? Not unless they're maybe a month or two younger, because I've got it set so they can just start to understand it at 3. That's a real turning point there at 3. That's when they sort of stop and think, and they're able to learn how to think before they act. That's what you need for the behavior board. Toddlers, not so much. You could give it a go, but I haven't heard great success. Someone turned up in one of the, I used to have group coaching sessions. I do it maybe once a year. I don't know if I'll do it again, but I did a couple of them, and it was in the 3 to 12-year-old boot camp course. So we'd have live group coaching, and then we put all those videos into the course. And someone said they tried it at 2.5, total flop, the behavior board. And then they waited, and it was better once the kid was 3. So yeah, they bought the course. It's okay to buy it and look at it, but yeah, and you could probably get a few pointers from it, but you can't start the behavior board until about 3, maybe a month, maybe 2 earlier. And the consistent corrective actions, I don't know why they're not working. You said they're not working anymore, so they were working. That doesn't kind of make sense to me. Usually they kind of work. Yeah, should last longer than that. So I'm just playing with my light up armbands here. Okay. I hate it when someone's talking to you and they look like they're distracted. I'm just playing with my light up wristband things. Because I was talking about them because I think it's such a good idea to go out at dark, because I was hit by a car recently. So now I wear those at night. I don't discuss medication. I can't. I'm not qualified. I know what you're saying, how to get them to take it. I can't talk about that at all, just because I'm not qualified to discuss any medical stuff. Howdy from North Carolina. I don't have as many right now, but I went through a whole bunch of southern, a rodeo, like in Texas, I think it was, a whole bunch of southern clients. And I swear to God, you cannot listen to a southern accent without it sounding friendly. It just always sounds friendly. I love southern accents. How do you discipline 13-year-old attitude? You never address attitude. You can't. That just doesn't work. You never, ever address attitude. You only address behavior. And once you're a leader, the attitude goes away. Yeah, it's tough. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. And the attitude is the very last thing to go. No matter what I tell parents, the attitude is still the last thing to go, because if they've had an attitude for a while now, it's going to take a while to go away. Anyway, you got to exercise your leadership skills. It's a little bit different with teenagers, okay? So number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2 is you negotiate as much as possible. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? You don't do it with everything, but do it with as much as possible. And number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? In other words, it's okay to make mistakes. We tend to be harder on them than we are on ourselves. Number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. In other words, you finally get out, you're having fun with your teenager, then you decide to discuss all the ways they've disappointed you over the last couple of years. Huge mistake. Number 5 is really important. I just added this one on about a month ago. Number 5 is you can be a right fighter or you can be happy with a teenager. You cannot be both. That could be said for any adult relationship too. You can be a right fighter or you can be happy. If someone's fighting with you, if you know you're right, and although some things are just a matter of opinion, that's different. But if you know you're right about something, and they're arguing with you, they probably already know you're right too, or they're just too proud to admit it, and they'll just come back fighting. So yeah, you can be a right fighter or you can be happy. San Diego, hello. I was there when I was 11. That was 1971. All I remember about that was the giraffes, the San Diego Zoo. I had no idea they were that tall. West Virginia. Hello, West Virginia. Is that the state that there's no East Virginia? It's just West Virginia? I'm pretty sure. That I find that annoying. If there's a West, there should be an East. Am I right? You know what I would find even more annoying is if there was a West Virginia and a North Virginia. Nothing else. That would drive me nuts. I'm very detail oriented with stuff like that. Okay, oh gosh, no. This is from Helena. Would it be appropriate to put on the behavior board, answer when someone talks to you? Absolutely not. No, that's in the attitude department. So yeah, there's lots of ways around that, but check out the behavior board. It's completely free. I'm not going to read that whole question. It's too much because I don't know if it would, it wouldn't apply to everyone. I like to get stuff. I like to make it short and sweet and make sure it applies to the greater amount. Okay. Okay, so you got a 3 and a 1-year-old. They come home from daycare and they were wonderful there. They come home. Well, they've probably been holding it in because daycare isn't going to put up with as much. They're more relaxed around you. Okay, they've been holding in all this rowdiness all day long, and now they let it fly. That's why I always suggest when you pick kids up from school, if something like this happens, take them to the park or have something physical that they can do to run off some of that energy. So yeah, that's very common. Imagine if you've been holding it in all day, you know? How do you feel about chore charts? Yeah, they're okay. We do use them. I use a chore chart, but then you put it on the behavior board, follow chore chart. That's the rule. And keep it small. Like my kids are 3 and they were doing chores every day, but their chores were, and when I'd ask them to help out, they were pretty good at helping, but they had to do, what was it? They had to put their toys away at the end of the day or before we went out usually. But I had a toy rotation system in place, so we hardly had any toys out. Put their toys away, put away their laundry. But again, I made sure that this was all very easy to do. So when I said, okay, do your chores, it took them 2 minutes to make their bed, put their laundry away, put their toys away. Because I was a minimalist with toys, so it was very quick and easy to put toys away. The bed was just a duvet, and they'd throw it up like that. It didn't have to be perfect. And put their clothes away. I did laundry every day, and I'm very organized. So I had an empty hanger where the shirt goes. I had an empty spot where the rolled up socks were, which I had rolled up. So yeah, they were very, and it was very easy. So yeah, but they definitely learned early on. You gotta contribute. I don't pay for chores. You live here, you contribute. Plus, I'm not cleaning up after you. I told my family, my husband, and everybody. I said, you know, I'll never ask you to deep clean because I love cleaning, and no one would ever do it to my standard anyway. So I said, I'll never ask you to clean, but just if I ever have to pick up anything of yours and clean under it, you'll be cleaning that day. So never happened. It was quite amazing. Yeah. I said, I refused because I don't like picking stuff up and cleaning under it. So yeah, I said, when you see me coming with that vacuum cleaner or the mop, make sure your stuff's picked up. And they did. They'd all race around. or else they'd have to do all the mopping and vacuuming, which I did every day. I'm nuts. I love doing it though. Yeah, keep the chores really simple. It's just the idea that you're teaching them, right? You got to contribute. And my kids knew they had to put the dishes in the dishwasher, stuff like that as they grew up. You know, clean up after yourself, basically. And then the teen years hit. Wasn't quite as successful, but you got to let some stuff go. One rule I did have was no food or dirty laundry in your bedrooms, but they could keep their rooms messy. I gave them the gift of a messy room. Did it bother me? No, because you can always shut a door and you got to give them something, right? Did you work when your kids were small? No, I was a stay-at-home mom, but I did teach aerobics and stuff when they were in school. I was never working other than teaching aerobics on the weekends on if their dad was around. So I was always just, you know, working when they were at school. They never knew. So. I don't know what you mean. This is from Caroline. How can I teach my 3-year-old daughter? What are you trying to teach her? I don't understand that. She only wants to initiate play. And when I want to teach her, what are you trying to teach her? I don't understand that. So maybe you could elaborate on that. I just brought these out a few minutes ago just to show you because they're those light up things. I'll just turn it on. They're such a good thing. I put them around my ankles. You can wear them anywhere. But I was hit by a car about 6 weeks ago. I'm still in physio, but I luckily threw myself on the hood, and because I'm not being pulled under, and I just had time to, thank God it worked out. But anyway, so yeah, make sure if you've got kids or even yourself, if you're going out at night, get something light. You know, wear lights. You know how many close calls I see with pedestrians? I mean, I was doing the right thing. He just whipped around a corner. But maybe if I had a light, he might have not done that. Okay. Would you teach your kids budgeting and expenses, such as giving them allowance and charge for rent, food, and utilities? And save that money for later. It's not a bad idea. I did charge room and board. You know, as soon as they finished college, that was my thing. Then you pay room and board. But I started allowance at 3 years old, and I think I gave them half their age per week. And look up, I have a whole bunch of videos on it. It's called Allowance. And one of them was Allowance versus Chores was one of my top videos, or Chores versus Allowance. You never pay for chores, but children deserve to learn how to manage money. And it was more about managing and respecting and spending responsibly than anything else. But there's a whole bunch of lessons in there. If you look up that video, you'll see what I mean. It's a whole system in how I did allowance. Oh, by the way, if you have, let's say you've never given your kids allowance, you got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. If you're going to start allowance now, you can start at 3, or you can wait till the youngest one is 5. You can say allowance starts at 5. Okay, but let's say they're 8 and 10. You can't say to the 8, I would make sure I'd want an 8-year-old to be getting allowance. So you have to back pay that 10-year-old 2 years of allowance. So start small. Say it's like 1 cent per week until you're 10 or something like that. But you know what, I'm joking around, but you know what I mean. You got to back pay the older ones. If you've got 4 or 5 kids and you've never given them any allowance and they're like 12, 10, you know what I mean? You have to back pay the older ones. You have to figure it all out week by week by week. You have to make it fair and reasonable. If you're not fair and reasonable, you're not a leader. Oh, you're asking me. This is from Jenna. This comes up a lot with parents. Your mother is undermining your parenting. How do you stop that? I can't help you. I can't help you manage other adults. I don't do that. See what I mean? Like I teach parenting. I don't teach you how to manage other adults. I don't do that. That's a whole other thing. But what I do say, you can say, is when you say to her, when you undermine my parenting, it hurts my feelings. What can they say to that? Except, but I'm just trying to help. Yeah, but it's hurting my feelings. But my intentions are good. I don't care. It's hurting my feelings. Nobody cares about your intentions. A lot of people hide behind good intentions, which is a passive aggressive thing. But I meant well. But once you've said you're hurting my feelings, she has no argument. None, unless you're abusive and she's trying to protect the child. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if she doesn't respect that, I can't help you. I can't manage her. Oh, you got to put the ages. I can't answer without an age. And I only give parenting advice. I don't give babysitting advice or grandparent advice because parenting is leadership and I don't teach other people to be leaders of anyone else's kids. See what I mean? It doesn't work that way. No, you're still asking me, Jenna, to control her. I'm not going to control your mother. I can't. I don't teach that. Yeah. I don't teach daughtering. That's what that is. That's daughtering. I teach parenting. And if you're going to put an age, you have to put the whole question because I can't go back and figure all that out. So yeah, just start again and put the whole question down. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Number 4 is similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world. Their world is actions. So you use consistent corrective actions. Their world is not words. It's not these mini therapy sessions. I know they're trendy. I know everyone's talking about them, but they're garbage. They were invented to make the mom feel good about herself. Discussing all these big feelings and big emotions when they're acting out. It's garbage. Get rid of it. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Your expectations of them is usually the issue, not them. They're just going to do what they're going to do. They don't make any sense yet. Okay. How can you teach your 2-year-old not to run off at stores, etc.? Put a harness on them before you go out. As soon as they start, and watch them like a hawk. As soon as they start to run, clip them in and say no running, and keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. It's going to be nasty, but they're going to learn. It's a safety issue. You clip them into a car seat. It's the same idea. You're keeping them alive. Daycare providers should be leaders also. No, I don't teach that. I don't teach daycaring, teaching, child psychology. All those people are my clients because they struggle with parenting, right? That's business. This is personal. Parenting is personal. I know a lot of schools are using my methods and a lot of daycares are, and that's fine, but you pick and choose. It's not a crossover. I'm teaching parenting. You love them, you're nurturing them in a different way than anybody else. Other people are teaching them or just caring for them temporarily. It's a different role. One is personal, one's business. So, but I hear from a lot of schools and daycares and that they are using a lot of stuff. Some of it crosses over, some of it doesn't. A really good example of something that does not cross over is the reward chart. It's a wonderful tool at schools. It is an absolute disaster at home. A reward chart says to a child at home, at school, they don't take it personally because it's not personal. It's business, right? They got 30 kids that are on that reward chart. It's different. At home, you put up a reward chart for good behavior. What you're saying to your child is, you're normally rotten, but if you should happen to be good, you'll get a gold star. See the message you're sending? It's terrible. Imagine if your husband or wife put up a reward chart for you. If you're really good all day, you'll get a chocolate bar at the end of the day. Wouldn't you just want to sock them? You know what I mean? It's just patronizing. Sending the wrong message. Okay, I got to move over to, where am I now? I'm on Facebook. I'm going to move over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, I'm on YouTube the whole time. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach, a mom and a grandmother. Check out BratBusters.com if you want to know about my courses or coaching or my free behavior board. Happy parenting. Sorry, YouTube, just all these buttons to push. It's exhausting. There we go. Okay. Oh, you got 4-year-old, 2.5-year-old, and a 1-year-old playing together. And the other one gets, yeah, I'd keep the 1-year-old away. Unless, you say to them, if you have anything precious that you don't want wrecked, you place somewhere else. Have a safe place they can go away from the 1-year-old. Yeah, I mean, you're in the heat of the physical. This is the physically demanding ages, these toddler ages. And it's going to be very short. It's going to be over before you know it. But in the meantime, it's a lot of work. Happy holidays to you too. And welcome. My name is Lisa, or welcome back. I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, and I'm also a parenting coach. That's why you're here. You're not here because I'm a mom and a grandmother. Anyway, if you go to BratBusters.com, you can see my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds. And then I also have private coaching if you're interested in that. So I do have a wait list for coaching, but I finished with a couple of clients this week. So I think I already took them on actually, but we'll see. I might be finished tomorrow. So I never know when I'm going to be able to take on new clients. And also sometimes people put a hold on coaching. They say we're going away for a month, so they'll take on someone new. You see, so I never know. Okay, your 4-year-old doesn't take looking or failing well. That would be losing, I'm assuming. How to help him. So he's a sore loser. It's low self-esteem. Focus on the journey, not the destination. Like a lot of parents focus on winning and getting straight A's and all that stuff. I never did. I focused on having fun while you're playing and doing your best at school. The end result, I never focused on. So it's being a sore loser and not wanting to fail at anything is low self-esteem, and it's usually a learned behavior. Sore loser is a learned behavior. In other words, losing is bad. They've learned that somewhere. It's usually you. Yeah, losing is bad because if you focus on winning, they're going to figure out that losing is bad, right? Oh, you won, you won. My mother never said that. Never. She said, gee, you played well. What a good game. You played well. She always bragged about what great sports we were. And I couldn't figure out what's the big deal. I didn't understand what it meant when I was growing up. She goes, oh, no, you're such a good sport. And I thought, what the heck is she talking about? My brother and I play hard to win, but we don't care if we win. There's a difference between the two. So we'll play hard, but whether or not we win, it has no impact on how we view the game. Does that make sense? Okay. 5-year-old still hits when upset and has major meltdowns over little. Okay. You put down no hitting on the behavior board. If they hit during a tantrum, you just physically restrain them if they're hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property. But you never, and then afterwards, you say, go to the board, say, let's go to the board. Remember, the rule is no hitting. So you hit, do not mention the tantrum. You never discuss tantrums before, during, or after. There is no point whatsoever. Someone was arguing with me on this. Oh, it was a long time ago now, unfortunately. I love it when people argue with me. But anyway, because I love being able to drive my point home, right? Because I've been doing this forever. So yeah, what's the point in arguing tantrums? So they'll understand. There's no understanding that goes along with a tantrum. There's no reasoning that goes into a tantrum. It's impossible. Yeah. So yeah. And yeah, don't ever discuss a tantrum. But you can address the hitting during a tantrum. So wait till they finish the tantrum, then say, okay, let's go to the behavior board. Remember, your rule is no hitting, and you hit. So here's your consequence. Okay. 18-month-old struggling with separation anxiety usually takes 3 to 6 weeks unless you drag out the goodbye. If you, bye, I love you, give me a kiss, and I'll be back. You know, all this sort of like you sound like they should be afraid. It scares them. So just say, okay, we'll see you later. And off you go. Fast, fast. Daycares hate it when parents linger because they know it's going to make everything worse. Don't quote me on that, but I don't know about all daycares, but I've known daycares. It's like I'm sinking down here just a sec. I know a lot of daycares that have complained about that. They say, yeah, they drag out the goodbye as if it's going to help. It makes it far worse for the daycare workers. Do you just ignore a 7-year-old who is sassy and has attitude? You ignore the attitude, but you address your leadership skills. Remember, all their behavior between the ages of 3 and 12 years old is a direct result of your parenting or your lack of leadership, or your leadership if they're really well behaved. So, and respectful. So work on yourself. Think of everything that they say and do that you don't like is your fault. Look at it that way. Is it? I don't know, probably not. But that's the way you approach it. When I was working with kids, they weren't even mine. I saw them for an hour a week. If they acted out under my care, this is what I would do. I'd go, what am I missing? What am I missing here? I never blamed them. What's the point? Was it their fault? They weren't even my kids. Probably was. I saw them for an hour a week. But if you blame them and try and fix them, you're never going to get anywhere. I try and increase my leadership skills. That's all I do. It's all me. You look at kids who are, I always managed to get respect right through the teen years with kids. Was it them? I just got them all in all those thousands of times I've sat with kids and teenagers. Was it them? I just lucked out and got them on a good day? Or was it my leadership? Think about it. You get back what you put out. If you're a good leader, you'll get respect. Okay, I need your classes. I'm not going to read that out. I'm not going to read that word. No, don't look at it that way. Just say I need your classes because I haven't quite figured out what I'm doing yet. No one is handed a baby in the hospital and says, I'm going to mess you up. Everyone parents the best they know how. I just teach you a better way, potentially, maybe not. Maybe someone else out there has better ideas, or you have better ideas. Or your parent, I don't know. I just teach one way that I know works and has worked for thousands of people, but it might not be for you. Okay, I'm not stupid. I don't think that there's only one way to live a life. But yeah, I know my method works really well. Plus, I always wanted to be friends with my kids. I was very goofy. I wanted to be the goofy mom. I did not want to be a serious mother because it's not my nature to be serious. I am very goofy. I hide it very well out in public, but in my personal life, yeah, I'm a total doof. So, and I wanted that with my kids. So I worked really hard to get my leadership skills cemented so I could just be a goofball. And that's what I want for you. I want you to enjoy parenting and have fun like I did. What's an example of good leadership? You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. When kids are with you, a good leader, they feel good about themselves. Your goal is not that they feel good about you. Your goal is they feel good about themselves when they're with you. When they're acting out, being rotten, saying nasty things, having a bad attitude, that is not happy. Okay. Their self-esteem's in the toilet. They don't like themselves when they're being like that. So that's your job, to turn them into nice people so they have pride, high self-esteem, and they like you. And they like themselves. They like you. So they're going to treat you like gold. Okay, this is another question. How do you handle grandparents and other people? I don't teach that. I don't teach how to handle adults. Do you know what I'm saying? I teach parenting, how to handle kids. So I don't teach how to handle adults. The only thing I always tell people this, you say this to them. If someone's undermining your parenting, say, You know, when you undermine my parenting, it hurts my feelings. It's the only thing you can say. If they don't respect that, then good luck to you. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean it. I don't care. It still hurt my feelings. So don't do it. Like, I hate it when people hide behind good intentions. It's passive aggressive. Well, I meant well. I was just trying to help. That's passive aggressive, by the way. It's textbook. Hiding behind good intentions. Once you've said it hurts my feelings, then every time they undermine you, they're admitting they're hurting your feelings. And this is another one. Oh, well, you're so sensitive. Another passive aggressive, right? It's not their fault. Okay, but that's all you can do. If they don't respect that, then good luck to you. Your positivity toward parenting has helped encourage my leadership. Thank you. Yeah, I always say, everyone always asks me about discipline. It has nothing to do with what I'm all about, really. Discipline is just something I have to get out of the way. I'm really good at connecting with kids. Connect with them, have fun with them, bring out the best in them. That is what I'm teaching. Yeah, but it's just when I'm doing these lives, everyone asks me about the negative stuff, but you ask anyone that coaches with coach, and it's more about connecting than anything else. What they want to talk about is discipline, but really you connect first, the discipline gets easier. It's a balance. Okay. But there's a huge amount. I would say 99% is connecting and bonding with your kids. The pool story is a very good example of that. It's the very first video here on Instagram, and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting. It's the pool story. I can't even tell it anymore. I've said it so many times, I can't say it. My mouth goes dry if I think I have to tell it, because I can't do it again. I've told it so many times. But it's my best story. I've got another one that's the same story, but on steroids with teenagers. I only tell that in coaching because it's a bit it's a harder story to hear, and it's quite emotional. But the pool story is my best example of leadership parenting. You deal with bad behavior fast, get it over with, no anger, and then you focus on the good kid. Focus on bringing that out. You got a 3-year-old who runs away, put them on a leash. Teach them. You've been running away. You're going to have to go on a leash every time we go out now. They will eventually learn. Then you let them off for a little bit. If they start to run, grab them and clip them in again. But yeah, you got to keep them alive, right? Oh, I don't have any tips on potty training. I have a whole system, it's a whole system. And you know why I put all those mini courses in with the boot camp course? Because what was happening was, if you're just doing tantrums but not other stuff, you're not going to get respect. If you're just doing potty training right, but you're not mixing it in with, it's more of a bigger picture. So I took away all those mini courses, threw them all into the big boot camp course, and that's where they sit. So if you want to look at the boot camp course for toddlers, that's where the potty training is. We just last week, I asked my daughter to put the potty training course in the big course too, the 3 to 12-year-old one, because some 3-year-olds aren't potty trained. You might have to tweak it a little bit if you've got an older kid that you're potty training, just age appropriate, but you can decide how to do that. We put it there too. But it's a whole system how you do it. I trained my son in 1 day, my daughter in 2 days, but I was already a leader. If you're not, it's a good way to exercise some leadership skills. So it's all fun, it's all positive, a lot of messes. It's messy. It's a party, but for them, not for you. 3-year-old calling everyone stinky butt. Ignore the words. I don't know why, but generations of kids have often used the word poopy face. I think poopy pants or poopy face. Isn't that funny? If generation after generation have, you know how many kids I hear say that? Anyway, stinky butt, that's cute too. I would say no name calling. Put it on the behavior board. No name calling, and that's a name call. And just put there's a consequence if they do. What time is it? Okay. 2.5-year-old saying no, I don't want to, and having bigger emotions. How to respond? Well, if it's something that has to be done, you say, come on, we're going to go change your diaper. No, I don't want to. Pick them up and change their diaper. You follow through with actions. Make it happen. Win those battles. Because if it's something that has to be done, right? We're going to go pick up your brother at school now. No, I don't want to. Pick them up, put them in the car, kicking and screaming. I'm assuming the reason why you're asking that question is you don't like the scenes. That's okay. The scenes are the lessons. The fits, scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums are the lessons. If you interrupt that and try and stop that and try and avoid that, where's the lesson? So in other words, you're giving in to all their demands. Yeah, boy, that's going to backfire. You know that. what else was I going to say about that? Oh yeah, that's the 8-year-old kid who said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said, bring it on. And he never did. It was like, I called his bluff. Well, no, that's not bluff. He used to have fits all the time, evidently. But yeah, you could just see it. He went like this. Oh, like she knows what she's doing. So yeah, don't be afraid of the fit scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums. I was almost disappointed he didn't have one because I know how to exercise my leadership, right? And just ignore it. Anyway, so don't be afraid of that. That is the lessons. Everyone wants the rainbow, but you got to go through the storms to get there. Okay? The tantrums, the fits, the scenes, the meltdowns, those are the storms. And if you just ignore them, you'll get to the rainbow eventually. Is spanking and timeout helpful? Well, I don't recommend either one of those. So no. I did where was it? I don't know. Just a sec. I'm going to look it up. We were just talking about that. I think we did a podcast on it, actually. If you want to check out my podcast, it's my daughter and I do it together. And it's called Brat Busters Parenting. I'm just going to look that up. I think we did a whole podcast on just that. Oh, sugar. Where the heck is it? Oh, there it is. Let me see here. I'm curious now. Episodes. Huh. Looks like we didn't. I know we talked about it, but I didn't name it that. Huh. Weird. I was so convinced we did that. Anyway, there's 3 things I can't stand that are really common. One is the least of the ones I hate is just a sec, timeout. Can't stand timeout. I think it's humiliating. You go over there, you think about what you did. I think it's awful. Imagine if you made a mistake at work and your boss said, you go sit in a corner for 20 minutes and you think about what you did. It's humiliating. I think it's mean. The second one is diversion. I like that it's worse to me than timeout. Diversion is when they're doing something naughty and you divert them with a reward. You never divert with broccoli. It's always done with something exciting. So what they've learned is if I keep kicking the cat, I'll get a reward. It's a mixed message. It's rewarding bad behavior, basically. The worst one is the countdown. If they're doing something naughty and you say, if I count to 3, you better stop or else, so you go 1, 2, 3, and then they keep kicking the cat 20 times. So they've learned it's okay to be rotten in the short term. And then when they break it at 3, where's the consequence? They haven't learned anything, nothing. They've just learned to hit harder in those 3 counts. You did a reel on the reel on it. Okay, thanks for that, Sarah. I knew we put it. I don't do any of that. My daughter does all that stuff. But I know she showed it to me. Every so often she'll run something by me. I don't like that. I'd rather she just does it all. But she goes, I just want to make sure you think it's okay. She's way better at that than I am. But yeah, she showed it to me once. So that's where it was. Oh, in the past, this is such a good question. I'm so glad you asked this. Stola 4. In the past, you've mentioned picking up crying babies, 1-year-old. What's your stance on when they want to be held all night long but just won't sleep? Okay, they're 1. I would do sleep training, but also you meet their needs and manage their wants. A baby needs to be held a lot, or they want a lot of attention, right? You do it whenever you can. But in the middle of the night, the need of sleep overruns that. It overrides that. So one need is more important than the other, which is sleep. So I would do the sleep training. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. I've got a lot of different ways of doing it. Which one? The easiest one is if you decide that you want them just to stay in bed all night. She's in a crib or a cot, of course, at this age, I'm assuming at 1. Have a chair right outside the cot or the crib. So I raised my kids in Australia. It's called a cot there. So put your hand inside the crib and you're sitting on the chair like you're nodding off, falling asleep. Okay, like this. You're boring. You're not talking to them. You're not looking at them. You're just like that. And they can have your hand. That's all you give them. And then you can eventually, as time goes on, you can move the chair further and further away, or they'll just start to fall asleep anyway. So, and then when you go in there later on and they're crying, say, you're okay. So that's when you first get them in bed. And then later on, when they wake up in the middle of the night, you go in there and you put them back down. They're going to be kicking and screaming and, sweaty because they're crying so much, but lay them back down. You're all right. Nice and quiet, and then walk out quietly. Every 5 minutes while they're screaming, going, you're all right, and then walk out quietly. You're all right, every 5 minutes or so, okay? There's lots of different things you can do. Plus, when I'm coaching people, we do try certain things, and either the parents can't do it for some reason, or it's just not working. So I have to pull a whole bunch of other stuff out of my cap. But when I pull other stuff out of my cap, those are the secondary ones. Those are the ones I don't like to start with. So I don't talk about them on here, if that makes any sense. 5 minutes is a lot for a crying 1-year-old. If they're really tired, yeah, it is a lot. Yeah, do it for 2 then. Yeah, whatever you think's right. Depends on how hard they're crying. Maybe 1 minute. You use your own judgment, but I would leave and then try again. Yeah, you asked about other people disciplining your kids. If you're dropping your kids off with someone and you trust them, don't micromanage how they deal with your children. Don't tell them what to do. If you trust someone enough to look after your kids, do not micromanage them. You can bring your own food if you're fussy about nutrition and all that stuff, but how they deal with them, if you trust them enough to babysit, don't tell them how to do it. You're the leader, nobody else. Don't teach anyone else how to parent your children. Just let them do what they do. Yeah. But when you're around, it's none of their business. Right? Like they can't step in when you're there. You're the parents. They're your kids. Someone asked me, they said, oh, you must have to hold your tongue with your son and his wife, because I've got a granddaughter now. And I said, are you kidding me? Why would I tell them? They're doing a great job anyway, but it's none of my business. It's not my kid. And why would I try and make them feel bad? If you give unsolicited advice to someone about parenting, you're insulting them. Guaranteed. You're insulting them. So you're not doing a very good job. Here's what you might want to try instead. That's what you're saying. It's passive aggressive again. None of my business how they parent. It's not my kid. They're doing I'm lucky they're doing a great job anyway. Yeah, well, spanking is another thing, but plus, why would you drop your kids off with someone who's going to spank your kids? You see what I mean? Like, I wouldn't do that. If I thought someone was going to spank my kids, there's no way those kids would be dropped off there. No way. Okay. Oh, I'm going to point this out again. Just because it's a safety thing, it's winter. Everyone's out shopping. You're with your kids. Buy these light up armbands. I mean, I don't have a shop on them. You know, and I'm not making any money off this. But I was hit by a car doing all the right things, crossing a street. But anyway, he whipped around. I was very lucky. I managed to stay on the hood instead of going under. Plus, he had a Tesla, and it was one that it stops automatically when it comes in contact with something, which was me. So get these, and I've been wearing these ever since. They light up, they twinkle, they do whatever. But get these for your kids too. Anything that lights up, so people just don't assume people can see you. Do you know what he did? This is actually, I shouldn't make fun of it, but you know what this doofus did when he hit me? I'm in physio still. It was about 6 weeks ago. I hobbled over he didn't get out. He stopped, but he didn't get out. And he's sitting in his car. And when he sees me hobble up to the driver's window, he goes like this. Plus, I'm not a dramatic I'm very emotional, but I don't like anything negative. Like, I like everything upbeat and fun and all that. But my voice went about 3 octaves higher. Why do you know you hit me? I couldn't get my voice to go back down. I was very aware of it too. I thought, why is my voice up here? I was so stressed out because I was just hit by a car. That was funny. And then I went to the gym. I was on my way to the gym. And I went to the gym and I'm working out and I was doing some bench presses. And halfway through a bench press, I started to cry. I guess it hit me. In fact, he hit me. It just hit me. And then I phoned my daughter and I said, oh, by the way, I was hit by a car. She's like, what? Anyway, so yeah, it was funny. I was very, very lucky. Boy, talk about luck. Oh, he did stop though, and they did catch him. He did drive off, but I got his license plate and that. But he said, I have to go to work. I have to go to work. So I didn't press charges. And I'll tell you why. He had a strong accent and he looked very panicked that he had to get to work. So I thought, this poor guy is probably, just moved here. He's supporting a family. This is what I had in my mind. He didn't mean to hit me. So yeah, I never did press charges or anything. But yeah, he just waved when he hit me. Oh, hello. Okay, sorry, I'm just yabbering on. Oh, so you got a 10-month-old who doesn't like the word no and doesn't like anything taken away. You redirect. You redirect with a baby up to about 15 months, sort of gray area in there. But yeah, you redirect, say no, and you take something away, and then you might do something else, like pull out, oh, what's this? Look over here. What's this? You know, whatever. That's probably all it would take. It's just a little hair clip. Oh, what's this? Oh, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. I remember I could always come up with something like this would be like teeth. Oh, I'm going to get you. Num, 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 num. So anyway, if someone just tuned in, they're going, what is with this broad? There's a Snowy Prince George. Hi, Katie. Anyway, I have a real way of talking to kids when they're little and I can't get their attention. I always talk like this. And I've taught this to some parents too. And they say, you know, it works. Not every time, but it works. You go, do you know what? Did you see over here? If you talk like that, they're much more likely to listen. So I get very animated. It's not what you're saying. It's the tone. Oh, wow, what's this? So that's how I would talk. The 10-month-old was crying every time you said no or took something away. Yeah. Oh, what's this? That's not luck, honey. You are blessed. I swear to God, after I was hit, I was saying to the ambulance guys and everything, I said, I'm so lucky. And they said, wow. They were so shocked. I'm a very optimistic person. I'm cheery by nature. And they said, wow, like you're hit by a car and you drove away and you feel lucky. Oh God, yes. Look at me. I'm just a bit crippled up. But wow, I could have been killed. So yeah, got to look at the bright side. My mother used to say, it's not the cards you're dealt, it's how you deal with them or how you play them. My mom was an eternal optimist. And I wouldn't say throughout my life I was like that at all. But then when she got dementia and was in a care home, I could feel it was shifting. And the day she died, I felt like it absorbed into me. I'm always trying to look for the positive, always trying to see the funny side of everything. My mother was brilliant at that. She was such a joy-seeking missile. She was my idol. We could all learn from her. She was very positive. No matter what went on in her life, she was always positive. Oh, there are no tips for multiples because a lot of kids are close in age and fight just as much, if not more or less or whatever. It doesn't seem to make any difference. Twins, but the only thing with twins is they tend to have the same interests at the same level. So yeah, no real advice for that. Just keep following through with the behavior board or the consistent corrective actions. The behavior board is completely free and it is a mini course. And then it has a little toddler section on it too now. We worked on that about a month ago. Okay, 2-year-old won't sit in cart at grocery stores. That is an entire section in my boot camp course for toddlers. So this is what I did with my kids. They never had an option for two things. They never had an option to walk beside the cart or help with groceries, ever. Because if they can do something once, they don't understand why they can't always do it. The toddler does not understand exceptions. They don't. So you got to be 100% consistent. Now, what I would do is if I was grocery shopping with a toddler, I always had a goodie bag. And that goodie bag, it was one of those ones that it was just plastic, but it was like one of those old fashioned ones that opens up at the top like that. It's kind of tall and skinny. And it sat perfectly between them and the cart. And I would put it on their lap, and it had like and I had a grab bag that I would change out the little toys. They were just cheap dollar store toys or puzzles or whatever, or coloring or anything. And I would just change it every time we went grocery shopping. It was different. And I also had a little healthy snack and something to drink, like a little sippy cup. So and that was called the shopping goodie bag. They never got it any other time. They never got it in the car because there's no way I'd let a kid drink or eat in a car. It's disgusting to me. So they never had it in the car or anywhere else. They only got it in that shopping cart, and that was it. Plus, they're up, and then they're you're almost level with them. It's a great time to chat with them. Plus, if you let them help, let's say, okay, here you go. Here's the Kleenex. You can put those in the back, and then you get a pickle jar. They're going to have a tantrum because they can't throw the pickle jar in the back. They don't understand why they can't. So be consistent and give them something to do. Grocery shopping is boring as bootstrap. Bootstrap, what a stupid thing to say. I couldn't think of a word, so I was going to say boring as bootstraps. What the heck does that mean? God, it doesn't even mean anything. It's stupid. Anyway, it's really boring, grocery shopping. But it wasn't for my kids because they had the goodie bag, right? And as soon as they came out of the shopping cart, I'd close it up and they'd carry it out to the car and then we'd put it away. So they never got to open it anywhere but in the shopping. And they would carry it to the shopping too. So they'd carry their little goodie bag. It was cute. Okay, I got to move over to TikTok now if you want to join me over there. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out the or BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my boot camp courses, one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds. You can look into coaching. There is a sizable wait list right now, but hopefully I think I'm going to finish up with another client tomorrow. I'm not sure. So we'll see how that goes. Because when I finish up with one, what happens though, boring as a bootstrap is priceless. Does it make any sense at all? God, I say some stupid things sometimes because I talk so fast, but my brain isn't that quick. My mouth's a lot faster than my brain. There you go. Anyway, I don't know if I'm just really fast at talking or really stupid, but let's just say I'm fast at talking. Okay. Anyway, what was I just saying about the goodie bag? I can't remember now. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm hopping over to TikTok now if you want to join me over there. Happy parenting. God, so many buttons to push with TikTok. Whew, exhausted. Okay, I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. This is when my throat gets really dry, is after the second, like after Instagram. The thing is, I can coach all day long and this doesn't happen to me, but in a live, it's just me talking to myself. You know, I'm the only one talking. Whereas in coaching, it's back and forth. Plus, I still talk pretty fast there too. But anyway, it doesn't bother my throat as much because it is more back and forth. Okay. Hello, everyone. Just waiting for people to turn up. Did you know that evidently TikTok is going to be banned in the United States? Is that true? Someone told me that. I don't know. Interesting. Boring as polishing a bootstrap. Okay, I could do that. I won't remember that, though. I'm not that bright. What was I thinking? Boring as a... What goes in there? What would be... It's as boring as... What would be a good thing to put in there? I had a client, and she said some saying... I don't even know what those sayings are called. You know, when you just say things. And she said something wrong, which I usually do. And I said, I think that might be wrong. I think you're saying that saying wrong. And her husband said the same thing. He said, she's always said it wrong, but she doesn't believe me. So we looked it up. She was actually saying it wrong. And then I said, because I do that sometimes too. I mix up that one word. Can't remember what it was. But yeah, a lot of us, you got to check what you're saying sometimes. If you've been saying something wrong your whole life. It's like there was a comedian who said that I can't remember what the word was, but his whole life he's been applying for jobs or something. And he was this one word he was saying wrong. And he realized, he said, boy, no wonder why I never got any of those jobs. We got to check in some. Luckily, when you do lives and when you've got a public front like I do, people will tell you when you do say something stupid. So that's a real positive. Okay, trying out your behavior board this week. Thanks so much for all you do. Oh, you're very welcome, Skylar. I've seen that name before. So you're doing the behavior board on your own. Start small, start simple. Do something you think you can manage. Often in coaching, I'll make it hard because I know how to fix it up. If you fail, I know how to fix it up and use it to our advantage. But if you're not doing it in coaching, make it easy. If you're doing it on your own, do an easy rule the first week. Where will you be going when they be on TikTok? Well, I'm on Instagram, and actually TikTok's my biggest platform, then Instagram, then Facebook, and then YouTube's tiny for me because it's a search engine. It's not social media. It's not where people go to chat. It's where people go to look up things. So it's quite different. And plus we've got the podcast now. So we're pretty well diversified. But yeah, I would really miss TikTok. And if I don't have all my American friends on here, like I would say most people who join in are American. So yeah, I'd miss it. I'd miss them. And plus, we don't get paid in Canada for TikTok. So I calculated I would have made a couple $100,000 in the last couple of years on TikTok if I lived in England or somewhere. I can't remember what country I was using as an example. But yeah, they blacklisted us they won't pay us in Canada. It doesn't bother me. It's whatever. But I don't know why they don't like us. I don't know what's going on there. I thought we were all friends. I don't know. Anyway, my son's rule is listening. No, that's in the attitude department. That's like saying you respect me and be perfect all the time. It's too big. It's too much. It's never going to work. Never. Any tips on stopping an 18-month-old climbing on the table? Move the chairs away, turn them upside down, or put bells on the chairs so when he pulls them out, you'll hear it. Or put a bell on him. It's just temporary. They're only little once. It's just a nuisance. That's my least favorite age because I was always worried that they'd fall or something. So it was very physical. Plus, I had back surgery when my son was about 18 months or 2 years old, and I had major back surgery. So yeah, the toddler years were not easy for me. But anyway. Just because I'm a safety nut, so I was always worried. I was fine when we were home, actually. It's when we went out that I was always stressed out. I could never relax. I'm always watching them like a hawk. My granddaughter's almost 1. She's starting to walk, and she's got this funny little, she gets her balance with her shoulders. So instead of sort of using, she's got her shoulders going like this all the time. God, they're cute. 18 months are wild. Oh, they're just all feet, no brains. That's all. They're cute as a button, but they got nothing up here yet, right? They don't understand things yet. They just don't get it. What do you recommend for a child with ODD who doesn't do simple tasks? I don't know. Check out the behavior board. Look at everything I teach. Those are all the kids I worked with. I used to call them alphabet kids. They all had ADHD, WXYZ. And ODD is not a medical diagnosis, by the way. It's oppositional defiant disorder. Doctors made that up to make moms feel better, which actually, that's what they've told me anyway, or a lot of them have told me that. Said it's not a medical diagnosis. It's just making the mom feel better. So she goes in crying, my kid's so difficult. Well, he's got ODD. It's not your fault. What happens with that, which I don't agree with doing that, because what happens is you're absolving the parents of any responsibility for the child's behavior. Well, there's nothing we can do. He's got ODD. Yeah, there's a lot you can do. Those are all the kids I worked with, was the oppositional ones, right? No one ever asked me to look after an easy kid. No one ever asked me to work with an easy kid, not once, not ever. Here's an easy one, Lisa. They all went, good luck with this one. I always got those kids that were really difficult to handle. So that's where I learned all this. So just keep following. It's all designed for all kids, except special needs like autism, depending where they are on the spectrum, right? That would be coaching. I've worked with a lot of disabled children with autism and all sorts of stuff. Actually, I would say one of the most challenging things that I've worked with, lots of disabled children in that, but the most challenging ones, I would say, from my perspective, was the ASD ones, the ones who were born addicted to something. Or NAS babies, sorry, ASD. Where did I get that from? What's ASD? Anyway, NAS babies, narcotic addiction syndrome babies. Because as they grow, when they're little, they're all twitchy. You can't touch them or talk to them or look at them or anything. Initially, they're very, they're withdrawing, right? And then after that, they have no impulse control. And in the teen years, it's really difficult because they just are missing whatever it is that's been damaged in their brain is the one that controls the impulses. And that NAS babies, when they're teenagers, holy moly. And so we have to come up with triggers, like teach them stuff. When they feel they're going to do something, we have to divert their attention and teach them all these different things to do. But they are, I would say, one of my most challenging things to work with is NAS kids. Oh, 2-year-old says, whenever I talk to her father, just ignore it. Don't give that any attention, because then she'll keep doing it. My daughter was diagnosed with ODD. Yeah, doctors have told me it's just something that they made to make the mom feel better, but it absolves them of any responsibility too. So it actually makes the things worse, right? But yeah, I've asked a few doctors and they've all said that. And you look it up. It's not a medical diagnosis. They're just oppositional. How can that be a medical diagnosis? Also, you look at anyone who's really successful, like big entrepreneurs or billionaires, they were often the most difficult kids, right? They just, were going to a different drummer, right? So think about it that way. Maybe your kid will be the next Elon Musk or something. I'm not saying you'd want that, but you know what I'm saying. 3-year-old will do exactly the opposite of what we ask him. That's because you're not a leader. That's a tell. It means he doesn't respect you. So you got to earn that. You got to work for that. It's not him. We're not fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. I'll bet you he'd listen to a leader. I've never had problems with kids. I'm a leader. Okay. It's never them. It's you. Kids will follow. You lead properly with love, with fun, and they will follow. It's all I teach here. So it just says you're not a leader. That's all. It's a tell on your parenting. And that's the best news you can hear, because you can only fix yourself anyway. You can't fix anyone else. You can only fix yourself. So, and everyone does the best they know how. I'm just teaching you perhaps a better way. 2-year-old running off in public, get him on a leash. Get him on a leash. He'll have a fit, but it's either you stay with me or you're on a leash. He'll connect it after a while. Not the first time. It's going to be rough. They don't learn quickly, 2-year-olds. It's amazing, though. People often say, well, he's just not getting it. Yeah, but kids tend to be a lot smarter when it suits them. So think about it. Don't over-explain everything. Parents tend to over-explain. Well, he just doesn't understand. He keeps doing because he doesn't. It's not a lack of understanding that makes kids do naughty things. It's a lack of impulse control. It's not a lack of understanding that makes kids naughty. They know right from wrong. From a very young age, they know right from wrong. I won't say who it is, but I never comment on anything like anyone else does, because I never look at anything what anyone else is teaching. But it's someone who teaches business, and I follow him on YouTube. And anyway, he's really struggling with parenting big time. Almost like depression and all that stuff. I almost commented, because he was saying that how hard parenting is. It's so hard. And you know what struck me about that? I was watching it, and it's just that you're not alone. You always think you are. You're not. It's just people don't tend to talk about it. He's going to get a lot of nasty comments for that video, which of course I'm sure he's ready for. But because he's, quite famous. So he'll get a lot of, whenever you're vulnerable, you always attract the idiots out there, right? So he'll get that, but I'm sure he's smart enough to know that's not normal. Like, that's not normal. People do that. So, but yeah, I think that people tend to think that parenting is easier for everyone else than it is for them. I would say I'm pretty sure about that. Most parents who are struggling seem to think, they just seem to think that other parents are having it that much easier. You'd be surprised. I coach for a living, and I never am coaching parents who are finding it easy. So, in that respect, I'm maybe not seeing the general public necessarily, but I would say more often than not, parents are struggling at times with certain things, for sure. Parenting is the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, but everyone expects you to be an expert. They used to think, parents sometimes think that it should come naturally. That's ridiculous. 100 years ago, it did used to come naturally. For one thing, parents didn't expect anything of themselves. They would just spank their kids and send them out in the street to play again, right? They weren't worried about any of that stuff. So they weren't worried about being politically correct or anything. Also, there was a village raising kids. The whole street. I remember we used to run up and down the street, and the only way we'd go home is when the street lights would come on. And as soon as they did, the whole street would empty out. And if there was any kids lingering, you'd hear their names being called that sing-song way, Lisa, you'd hear that. So, and then if it got louder and louder, you knew you were in trouble. So yeah, there was a whole village raising kids. There was multi-generational houses. My granny actually grew up, I grew up next door to my granny. She lived right next door in the house. So it was just, it was just different back then. But nowadays, everyone expects to be so perfect, and they're putting on this Instagram stuff, the beautiful moms that, you look behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. And I do with some, by the way. You'd be quite surprised who hires me. Of course, I'd never say who it is. But yeah, on the surface, you would never guess. And I got a whole bunch of people I've worked with that if you saw them in public, you would be shocked at what they're going through. Yep. And some of them are actually talking about it now, which is good. Because I said, talk about it. Don't keep it all to yourself. Don't try and be picture perfect all the time. You're not doing yourself a service or your kids a service or anybody else. So yeah, you'd be surprised. You're not alone. Okay. How to talk to teen lying time to time. That's kind of big stuff. We start small with teenagers. You can try the behavior board with a teenager. Call it an accountability chart. Okay, and you're on there too. That's what makes it fair and reasonable. but I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. They happen to be my favorite age. Once you understand teenagers, they're the best. They're fun. Okay. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2 is you negotiate as much as possible with the teenager. You say, hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? Back and forth, reciprocity, right? Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or today? Do you want to hear what I did today? Laugh it off. It's no big deal. It's okay to make mistakes. We tend to be harder on them than we are on ourselves for some reason. Number 4 with teenagers, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. I'll often teach parents how to connect with their teenagers. Then they'll be out somewhere having fun. And I always say, don't talk about the bad times. Keep it all upbeat and positive and light and airy, right? Sure enough, every so often one will slip through and she'll say, I did it. I said to them, oh, this is wonderful because the last 2 years with you has been hell. They couldn't figure out why they got the finger and the team left. Anyway, so we had a good laugh over it anyway. Okay, number 5 is you can be a right fighter or you can be happy with a teenager. That kind of goes with any adult relationship too. You can either be a right fighter or you can be happy. So yeah. Can't be both with a teenager. It's impossible. They're going to say some pretty ridiculous things. You're just going to have to go, okay. Don't point it out. Okay. Kelly, do you have a book or a podcast? Well, we do have a podcast. And because of that, we might not end up writing our book next year. The podcast is taking off. We didn't expect that. So now we're doing it twice a week. And the book was all planned for next year, but we haven't signed an agreement yet, thank God. But yeah, so we are, we're planning on writing a book next year, but if the podcast keeps going gangbusters, is saying gunbusters. What is it with me? I can't get anything straight tonight, or ever. Anyway, gangbusters, is that it? Anyway, I think that's it. So funny, I've never even used that term before. Why would I use it now? So anyway, the podcast is going really well. It's called Brat Busters Parenting, and it's across all the platforms. It's on my website, BratBusters.com. And if you want to watch it with my daughter and I, we do it together. She's my business partner. If you want to watch that, it's on YouTube, so you can see the both of us talking back and forth. And yeah, she's my business partner, my best friend, and my daughter. And sometimes, because she just came on board full time in August, and a few people have said to her, "Whoa, what's it like working for family?" And she goes, "Believe me, I don't work for my mom, and she doesn't work for me. I don't even know what she does. Like we have totally separate, but she does all the planning. She does tell me what to do, but I'm the product. But yeah, she's in charge of all what we're doing. So yeah, we were planning on doing a book, but now the podcast is going so well, we're not sure what we're going to have time for because we don't plan on expanding with people because then it just gets too difficult. We just want to keep it a family business, just the two of us, and that's our goal. Keep it family. Okay. Now you asked about teen stealing. That's the big stuff. Okay. That would be coaching. If you've got a teenager who's stealing, I can't give you any tips on here. And the first 2 sessions are usually really disappointing. And when you got teenagers, I'm teaching you how to connect, how to understand what they're thinking, what they're doing. I'm trying to figure stuff out. So the first 2 weeks is just me working on your connection, you giving respect and bonding with your teenager. That is my focus in the first couple sessions. But what about the stealing? What about we'll get to it. We'll get to it. You got to do some groundwork first. Teenagers are a whole different thing. I actually started my business doing teen crisis work 17 years ago. That was my thing. And the only reason I don't lead with that anymore is because I'd rather prevent it. I can reach more people and prevent that than I was doing by just dealing with crisis situations. So anyway, why did you choose the name Brat Busters? That's actually a very funny story, which I love to tell. So thank you for asking. Years and years ago, when I was thinking about starting my business, and it was the teenagers I worked with who told me if you go to teach this stuff, Lisa, they said, because you're always busting brats. They always said, I never called a kid a brat, but they said, you're always busting us brats. So I said, Anyway, so years later, I thought, maybe I will. I love parenting. I found it easy, I'll be honest. And I've worked with so many kids. I just loved it. So anyway, I joined this thing in the government. They had this free program for people who were going to start their businesses. And it's like a week or 2 or 3, I can't remember. It's like 9 to 5. You turn up every day for weeks. And it's all government funded for people who have a good idea for business and they're going to start. Anyway, There was this one woman in there, and there was about 20 of us. She hated me. You could just see it. I'm very chatty. I make friends easily. I'm chatty. And she was very prissy and very proper. And she just couldn't stand me. Anyways, it's always mutual. When someone hates you, it's usually mutual. She was so not my cup of tea. She had a needle up her butt. So anyway, I nicknamed her Needle Butt. But anyway, we went around the table at the end. I think it was the very last day. And we were going to, throw out our name ideas for our companies. And then we were going to vote on them. So I said, well, one of the names I was thinking of, my favorite, is because I'm funny. And I figure, Brat Busters is just, it says it like it is sort of, but I mean, I don't ever call a kid a brat. You know what I mean? I just thought it was funny and catchy. So anyway, I said Brat Busters, and she went like this. She goes, oh, I would never work with anyone who called their company Brat Busters. And I said right out loud, I said, Brat Busters it is, as if I'd ever want to work with needle butts. Perfect. If I can avoid ever working with needle butt, Brat Busters it is. So that's the story. That's how I named it. I just thought it was funny. And for anyone who's offended by it, I'm never going to get along with them anyway. They can't see the humor. Yeah, she and the funny thing is, I was very popular there. I was making friends right, left, and center. We were all laughing. She just hated me more and more and more. Oh God. She just couldn't see it. Yeah, I felt like saying, get that needle out of your butt and just laugh. Just relax. She couldn't do it. She was so busy telling me what was wrong with me. Okay. How do I correct my almost 5-year-old tells my husband, or I don't love you, or I'm not proud? Okay. How do I correct my almost 5-year tells my husband, I don't love you, or I'm not proud of you? So the kid says that to the adult. I would say, whatever. They're just doing it to try and get a rise out of you. Even if I didn't get that right and it's the husband saying it to the kid, let's go with the other and say it's the kid saying it just for the sake of this. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, if the kid says something like, I hate you, I'd just go, alrighty then. And then I'm going to go do the dishes. Don't give that any attention. It's manipulation. So that's if they're mad or things aren't going their way. If you're going around the Dumbo ride at Disneyland and they say, I don't love you there, then I would look into it if they're happy, right? It's when they're mad about something or things aren't going their way. That's when I would go, whatever, just ignore it. Sorry, I haven't been looking at YouTube. I get so stuck on my phone. And I've got my phone way over there too, so I'm talking like that. Silly me. Okay. Yeah. This is Wolfhamston Foxcat. Okay. My daughter falls into that alphabet soup group. I call them alphabet kids. ADHD, ODD, autism level 2, intellectual disability. I've worked with all sorts of kids with all sorts of challenges. And I treat them all the same. What I mean by that is I'm always trying to connect with them. I'm always trying to have fun with them. Fun is their love language. Now, if I've got a kid who isn't good at connecting with people and doesn't get eye contact in that, I mimic whatever they're doing. Like, let's say even if they're hitting themselves, I'll mimic that just to get their attention and try and enter their world. So yeah, there's always something. Years and years ago, the kids that I worked with that were the most physically disabled were, they couldn't walk or move or anything or talk. And they were highly medicated to avoid seizures. They had shunts in their necks. Anyway, I remember this. It was Sunny Hill Hospital here in Vancouver. And I did it for 2 years back in the I would have been about 24 when I started. And I was there for about 2 years. Anyway, I was there twice a week for 2 years. And I said to one of the nurses there, because every time I'd go to pick up one of these kids to change them or whatever, I'd go to pick them up and they'd go all stiff. And I said, it was because they're trying to protect their shunts. There's not a lot of thought process with them, but they instinctively just go stiffen up to protect the pain of being lifted improperly. So I said, how do I know? Can you connect with them? And she said, you'll know they know who you are and they trust you when they go limp when you pick them up. And I remember the kid's name and everything. And he was 4 years old. And I picked him up and he went like that. And I thought, wow, that's connection. I thought, wow. I want to cry now. I lost it when that happened. I said, look, he went limp, and I was crying and everything. So you can always connect. Okay. Okay, how do you deal with a 6-year-old who back chats? Oh, you're going to hate me. We're not fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents. That back chat means you're not a leader. He doesn't respect you. You're not a leader. That's why. You got to work on yourself. We don't fix kids. We fix and teach parents here. Kids respect leaders. It's a natural instinct to look towards a leader. A leader brings out the best in them. So that just says to me, he doesn't respect you. You got to work on yourself. That's all I teach here. I teach parenting. I don't teach kidding. I teach parenting. They all know they're only reacting to you. I managed to get respect with all the kids and teenagers I worked with. Did I just get them all? The thousands of hours I've spent with kids, did I just luck out and get a good day? No, I'm a leader. I had to earn that, though, I'll tell you. I had to work for that. But once I got it, it was cemented. So work on yourself, and they will follow. Anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. I don't know when I'll be back again. I'm not doing any regularly scheduled lives anymore because we've gotten busier and busier with the business, but we're still determined to give you a lot of free content, which is all these videos, pop-up lives, and the podcast now. Twice a week we're doing it. My daughter and I do it together. So this is just our business. It's a family business, and we're determined to keep it accessible to everybody and free. A whole bunch of stuff is free. There's paid stuff too, but you can get a lot of stuff just from all the free stuff that we hand out. We're very adamant about that. We get approached by a lot of people to do things differently, but yeah, we say, nah, go away. We like to do all this stuff. So thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk again soon. Happy parenting.